Well, welcome to Talk Leadership with Cedrick. You know, everybody needs a little TLC. I'm excited to be here with you tonight. Talk Leadership with Cedrick starts right now. You know, Talk Leadership with Cedrick is where we focus on leadership and personal growth with business leaders, educators, and local thought leaders. Our goal is to introduce our audience to leaders who are making an impact with innovative ideas. You know, the law of contribution is our guiding leadership principle, which says growing yourself enables you to grow others. So you can't give what you don't have. So first, you must grow yourself in order to grow others. Now, we believe that outstanding leaders like yourself will help us to help others. So tonight, we have with us a dynamic leader. You know, every week I like to do a proper introduction of my guests. So let me do a proper introduction of our guest tonight. Pastor Braylen Harris is a young, enthusiastic, and extraordinary leader. As a proud graduate of McNeese State University with a degree in business administration, Braylen has spent his career providing innovative leadership opportunities and finding synergistic solutions throughout Southwest Louisiana. His work began at his alma mater, where he spent nearly a decade recruiting and retaining students as an admissions counselor and the Upward Bound director. His success led to the opportunity to serve as the founding director of the multi-agency Positive Change Initiative of Cactus Parish, better known as the Impact Agency, which was charged with curbing negative behavior trends among juveniles. And we all know that we need those things, right? Each of these experiences have served to hone his expertise in organizational leadership, business development, and community service. As proof of his unwavering commitment to the advancement of the community in which he lived and worked, Braylen has also served as a senior pastor at Mount Olive Baptist Church in Lake Charles, Louisiana for over 10 years. During his time as pastor at Mount Olive has become synonymous with innovative and inclusive ministry throughout the region. Braylen has recently committed to sharing his skills and lending his knowledge to other businesses and organizations throughout through a consulting partnership called Solutionist of Southwest Louisiana. He is married to the essence of his elation. Now that's a great term right there, folks. To his wife, Jasmine. And they are the proud parents of 4 amazing children, Sydney Grace, Aubrey Joy, Zion, and Israel. So let's welcome Pastor Braylen Harris to the show. So welcome. I'm glad you're here tonight.
Absolutely. We're so glad to be with you, man. So glad to be with you tonight.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk with you and have you on the show. And you know, I read your bio, but you know, our listeners want to hear a little bit from you in terms of your background, your experiences, your journey to leadership. So, share with our audience a little bit about your journey to leadership.
Absolutely. I've kind of, you know, I believe in somewhat shape, form, or fashion. Leaders are born, right? You can make one too. Everyone has the ingredients, but some folk just come here a little bit farther down the road than others with their skill set, their talents, character, and ability. And so I would definitely place myself in those kind of born leader category. Because I've been leading from a very young age. I've always been involved, of course, in student council and student government. At the early age of 13, I began 12, 13. I began to be involved in youth ministry and accepted my call to the ministry. And of course, that forced me into a leadership position among young people at a very early age. And so always have had a passion to lead, a passion to manage organizations and lead organizations. And of course, went to Xavier after graduating from high school, went to Xavier University in New Orleans, got to campus freshman year, became dorm president. All of those things was riding the highlight pretty quickly at Xavier University. Had an extraordinary time there. But Hurricane Katrina kind of interrupted the plans right there at Xavier University. And Had to come back to McNeese State University, blew me out of here with Hurricane Rita. And after 2 storms in 1 semester, I said, you know what, I'm going to stay close to home and just wrap this thing up as quickly as I possibly can. And that's exactly what I did. 2 hurricanes, 2 different cities, but 4 years, and I finished my bachelor's degree right there at McNeese State University. And of course, as soon as I graduated McNeese State University, graduated in May, had already received my real estate license that I was working my junior year, had already received my church consultant certification that I had received my junior year as well. So it was already operating both in the business area as well as in the ministry area with church consulting and real estate. And then the university called as well and said, well, listen, we've got this incredible opportunity and given that this is Black History Month, I'm going to give the full title. I normally don't say this because it's a pretty long title. My first title at McNeese State University was Admissions Counselor for Underrepresented Populations. And so imagine that on one card. Okay, that was a long card. So that was my position. My job was to go out there and recruit underrepresented population, which, as I'm sure you know from having spent a little time here in Southwest Louisiana, that was African Americans and anything other than our European brothers and sisters. And so I was automatically assigned as an academic recruiter. Started in October, spent about 7 years in that field, and spent a lot of time in the greater New Orleans area, of course, an area of high underrepresented populations, and then, of course, in the Shreveport area here in the state. So traveled all across the state, spent a lot of time in those more metropolitan areas of our state on opposite ends of the state, but got to see all the state in between. And so presented some leadership there, worked with our campus as far as creating initiatives that would focus on the welfare and the matriculation and the retention of underrepresented populations. And so done a lot of work in that area. And then I had the opportunity to become the director of Upward Bound, which of course is a program, federally funded grant program that is able to help students from low socioeconomic conditions begin to assimilate themselves to higher education, and then give them a head start on their successful, what we hope to be their successful matriculation through universities. And so we were able to do that, work with that program for about 3 or 4 years there at the university. Was able to write and successfully the federal grant for that program, which they're still operating under now, which is extraordinary. We're really excited about that. But about the year 3.5, of course, we had a year here in Lake Charles with over 100 shootings. And for Lake Charles, I know in Houston that may not seem a lot, but here in Lake Charles, that was an extraordinary year. And immediately, the city of Lake Charles, the local district attorney's office, the sheriff department, and the school board decided they need to do something to begin to intervene, especially in the life of young African American males. And so they created the multi-agency Positive Change Initiative. And reached out to me, and I got the opportunity to become the initial director of that program, which we later labeled the Impact Agency for marketing purposes. It's real hard to recruit a kid to the Positive Change Initiative, but it was pretty easy recruiting a kid to the Impact Agency. And so we were able to do that. And so we were able to lead in that program for about 3 years. Recently, due to COVID-19 and funding and things along those lines, that program has shifted. We're now independent, not necessarily funded by those governmental agencies. And so we're working on reestablishing ourselves with another agency at this point. But in the interim, I've recently been asked to lead a coalition of churches and faith-based organizations in our recovery efforts here in Southwest Louisiana, in an organization called Southwest Louisiana Responds, which is a sister program of Houston Responds, which had a major effort in the recovery of Houston, Texas during Hurricane Harvey. So that's kind of my leadership journey. Of course, along the way, I've pastored the Mount Olive Baptist Church for 10 years. It's been an extraordinary journey here at the Mount Olive Baptist Church. We've been able to transition from a small building to a very large complex here. We were able to take over a church that was basically dying at that time, and they had very large facilities much more than they needed. And we were able to acquire those facilities. We were able to lead our church in purchasing a little over 34 acres of land here in Southwest Louisiana as well. And of course, just growing ministry and being very passionate about outreach and evangelism and benevolent ministry here in Southwest Louisiana. And of course, last year we launched the Solutionist of Southwest Louisiana, which brings together all of those experiences that I've had, both in government, nonprofit, for profit, as well as in faith-based organizations, and creates an organization or a business for me and my partner that allows us to seek synergistic solutions between those areas. A lot of times we talk about the separation of church and state, but many times the conversation should more so be the synergy of church and state. And so we look for those synergistic solutions between organizations and even governmental agencies and nonprofits as well. So those are kind of my leadership experiences, and we're glad to again make those available to any and everyone we can.
Awesome. I know you said, hey, you're a pastor of Mount Olive Baptist Church. When did you get that call to become a religious leader?
Yeah, so my father's a pastor. My great grandfather was a pastor. My grandfather was not a church person. Okay, so on my dad's side, so my great grandfather was a preacher pastor. Skipped a generation, got my dad, and has flowed over to me and my brothers as well. And so at the early age, I tell people very often that, you know, I knew I was called to preach, but at the same time, I knew I was a person, right? And so that's both an advantage and a disadvantage. I share that with people all the time. They say, oh, it must be wonderful to have known your call at a young age and been able to pursue it. Yeah, but when your calling is preaching, that means you've got to go through your teenage years as trying to live right and go to college and try to live right. So there's some challenges to knowing what you were called to do at an early age, because you're also called to live a life that kind of aligns with that. And we've done absolutely our best that we could, but absolutely we could have done better in certain stages of our life. But yeah, so at 13 years old, I yield to my call in the ministry. Started preaching at that age, was licensed as a minister of the gospel, probably 14, 15 years old. Was ordained later on around 2000. So I think I was just coming out of high school, 2004, in there, was ordained as a minister. And then, of course, became a pastor here in Mount Olive Baptist Church 10 years ago, this coming June. And so we've had an extraordinary opportunity, served as assistant pastor, served as youth pastor along the way. But it's been an absolutely incredible journey. But yes, it started quite young.
Well, you know, there are a lot of biblical leaders and you know, leaders outside of the church that started real young, right? So it's definitely nothing wrong with getting that calling real early. So what's been one of the biggest challenges, you know, with COVID, with leading your congregation during this COVID environment?
Yeah, it has been a great challenge. COVID is something that is beyond our control, man, and people really struggle with that when things are beyond their control. And so just being able to adjust, it has helped from a ministerial standpoint that to have a very viable mission and vision for our church. And so the mission and vision for our church is, by all means, that's the vision, to be a ministry that's doing ministry by all means. And then the mission is to go teach love. And so that has really been something that we've been able to rest ourselves on and find comfort in, but also find the challenge in all seasons and all times. And so one of the things I'll say about wisdom or vision or mission is they should be timeless and transcendent, right? They should be timeless in the idea that you never really get to the end of them. And then transcendent is they're relevant in all seasons and at all times. And so it's really been that vision and mission combination that has really substantiated and stabilized our ministry in times like these, because even though we're not in our buildings, we can still go teach love. In fact, We can go teach love even better now. We're mandated, we're forced to go teach love now because we're outside of our building, the things along those lines, and then being able to do ministry by all means. This falls square inside of it because now we have different means. So we're having live on the lawn when weather permits outside, which is just another means to do more ministry and reach more men. And we're going live online for Wednesday nights and when the weather's inclement. And so again, it all fits within that mission vision kind of context. And having preached that and taught that and realized that and worked that for 10 years with our membership here, it was fairly easy to help them see this as an opportunity to further our mission, to further our vision. And so we've always been known. Anyone that knows Mount Olive Baptist Church knows that we're kind of the crazy church. We'll try something. You know, I normally tell other organizations that if you've got something you want to try and there's not another church that'll partner with you, give us a shot. We're probably willing to do that. And so so that has created a very flexible and vibrant spirit in our church that really embraces the next challenge that whatever we're facing. And so COVID just became a challenge immediately. We have an extraordinary board of directors here, a great supportive group of deacons here, and a phenomenal membership. And immediately we were able to kind of see things coming. The president of our board of directors is, believe this or not, 30. We're 81-year-old church. The president of our board of directors is about 30 years old and has a business administration degree from LSU and a master's in education from McNeese. And so me and him vibe off of each other very, very well. And we saw some things coming down the pipe, and we're able to lay out some vision and really lead with integrity and passion. To help our members embrace this season and not feel as if this was some disadvantage, but see this as a season of advantage and powerful ministry for them.
Yeah, you know, I actually like to say that I believe that God actually designed this specifically to churches, to help churches understand. See, we all say we're going to get out and we want to bring more people to church, right? But we're normally talking to our four walls.
That's right. That's right.
So he said, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get you outside the four walls. In fact, I'm going to not even let you be able to come in the building.
Now let's see. Let's see what you're talking about.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, I agree. I like your message that, you know, this is the time to take our churches and do things by all means, and then go out and teach and preach love, right? It's also a time to help people realize what's important, right, in life, right? If you would have told someone last year this time that not only your community, not only your city, not only your state, but the entire United States, and in fact, bigger than this, the world would be shut down. Right? You wouldn't have believed it, right? Well, it happened. So now you have to go back to what's important, right? And then also the second part of this, and I remember going over to Jim and Stephen's church, and I did a leadership thing for his leadership team, and I told them, this was before COVID, I said, you guys need to, whatever you're doing, you need to make sure that you become more online and move to electronic giving.
Right. That's right.
In Houston, in our church, we did it back in 2014, so we were prepared for this, but a lot of businesses, a lot of churches weren't prepared for this. But now, guess what? They're all ready now.
Oh, right? Yeah. You know, and we were tremendously blessed. We went live online several years ago, went to online giving several years ago. And here's the beautiful part of it as a visionary leader. And I'm sure many other leaders saw the same thing. That this moment, this season was also a validating season for visionary leaders because vision had placed you ahead of the curve. Right. And now people who kind of didn't really understand the vision, didn't understand the importance of having vision and kind of already being ahead of the curve, this was a very validating moment for visionary leaders, because many of those visionary leaders were prepared and ready, and now people have an appreciation for their visionary leader that they had an apprehension about before, right? They didn't. Why is he doing this? Why is he asking us to give online? We're here. Why do we want to give online? Why are we going live online? If folks want to come to church, they'll come. Why we don't like? But now that very thing that made you apprehensive about a visionary leader before is really now a season of appreciation. And I'm talking to leaders across the city, across the state, across the nation that are seeing that appreciation now for their visionary leadership, because people are now seeing what that was all about and why God was leading them in a particular area, and how their church's path through this has been smoother because of the visionary leader and the visionary principles and programs that they had put in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so you talked about visionary leaders, this today is the first day of Black History Month.
Yeah.
Right. How important is Black history to, the city of Lake Charles? And then also, how important is it to have visionary leaders who are speaking into Black history?
Yeah, no, it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important. I mean, we know as the African American population, where would we be without visionary leaders? And that goes all the way back. It predates slavery. Okay, we always like to talk about, slavery is day one. Slavery was not day one. Slavery was probably, year 2000, whatever the case may be of our existence. And visionary leaders, I mean, you can go to the pyramids and see visionary leaders and things along those lines. And of course, all throughout the continent of Africa, even in the transatlantic. I mean, how do you survive unless you have a vision that things can get better? How do you even survive the journey to here? And then how do you survive slavery if you don't have a vision, right, of things getting better, of things being more promising? And then how do you transition out of slavery into Jim Crow and survive and keep that hope and keep that desire and that deep-seated joy that despite what you're seeing, things are going to be hopeful, things are going to be better. All of those are visionary things. I mean, you take, of course, one of the most visionary lines of any speech that's probably known to man is, I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land, right? And that arousing of man's spirit that can only be done by someone who's seen something that no one else has seen and is able to articulate it in a way that arouses not only the conscience, but also arouses the soul. It is incredibly important to the Black community, especially after a year like 2020, where we not only battled, COVID-19, where there was especially early on, a very disproportionate amount of African Americans that were dying at that point. When we were also tied up in probably one of the most, divided political years ever. Okay. And where, and then of course we had the social justice piece and the criminal justice piece. A very, very tough and excruciating year to live through. And so it's absolutely important that this year in 2021, during the next 28 days or so, we are able to talk about what is that next mountaintop that we as a people are headed towards, that we want to see. Is it financial freedom? Is it, we've of course just inaugurated the very first African American female to be vice president. We're excited about that. And so I think we have to have that vision. We've got to talk about what's next because as they would say in the olden days that our feet may be tired, but our souls can't get weary. We've got to keep on marching. We got to keep on marching.
You're absolutely right. The law of navigation says anyone can steer a ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. The leader sees more, sees before, and sees farther than everybody else.
Absolutely.
And that's what these visionary leaders do for any population of people. And this is what Black History Month is all about. And you're absolutely right. Without those visionary leaders, our existence would be here, but it could be a different existence, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. You know, um, I know that you have members that had to adjust to a new way of worshiping in this virtual environment. And I'll hear a lot of times from churches that, well, my church, our population is older population. And so how did you, is your church an older, younger population?
So we have an incredible blend. We've got an incredible blend. Older population, younger population. So we're a multi-generational church. Traditionally, we've got 3 or 4, most likely 4 generations sitting in our pews or engaging in our services at a time.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. And so then hopefully then that helps with that transition that needed to be made in your church.
We encourage, younger generations to partner with older generations and teach them about Facebook Live, and of course we went on the prayer line, right? It was a little easier for our elders to dial in to service,
Right.
and so they were able to dial in. But listen, let me tell you, older people, the elders are Facebook savvy. Don't let them fool you. They're all there. They know how it works. You just got to tell them which button to click this time. But they've become pretty savvy in Facebook as well. So a lot of people discredit them, but let me tell you, they know how to do it. They know how to do it.
Given the opportunity, they do know how to do it, and they're resilient in that it may take them a little bit longer to adjust, but they will adjust.
They will. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, leaders, Braylen, come in all different type sizes and different packages and different strengths, right? So for you, give us 2 or 3 strengths that you think all leaders should have or possess.
So I usually operate with 2. I try to, again, keep things simple. Of course, we've all heard of that keep it simple, stupid kind of theory.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to keep things simple. So there's 2 things that I traditionally look for in leaders. On the spiritual side, we would call those, vision and values. And then on the more secular side, we would call that, intensity and integrity, right? To be of insight and integrity. And so basically being able to see forward as a leader, I think is very essential. There's so many other skills, talents, and abilities that you can hire, that you can acquire by staffing your weaknesses, as we are taught. But truly, if you're going to lead an organization, vision and insight, vision and innovation are really have to be in your core skill set. It's very, very difficult to lead an organization and the vision is coming from someone else. That can become a lot of tension can build up there when the leader is not the visionary. I've seen those situations. I've helped organizations work through those situations, but it's very, very tough to work through a challenge, an organizational transition or leading an organization when the leader is not the visionary, when somehow there's someone else in the organization that's the visionary that is not the leader. You've got a complicated situation there. So I always like to see the leader as the visionary, as the one who has the insight, as the one who has that forward, innovative thinking. And then, of course, the next thing is vision, values, or innovation and integrity. So that value and integrity piece is very, very important as well. Because again, people can articulate powerfully a vision, but if they don't have the value system and the integrity to usher a organization through the process of achieving that particular vision or mission, it's going to be troublesome, right? We've all seen leaders who have extraordinary vision, but their integrity does not hold up to see the vision fulfilled. Their values will not allow for their team to really create the team synergy that they need to really go after that vision the way they should. And so vision and values or innovation and integrity, whichever way you want to phrase those, are the 2 things that I think are just essential to leadership. Integrity and values, no one can give that to you. you got to have that for yourself. So I think that's true with any position within an organization. And then for the leader, I think the core principle beyond integrity and values is being able to be innovative and having vision is essential to be in that position.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I like the way you broke it out, spiritual versus secular, but they're really tied together, right? Because if you're in a spiritual organization, you want someone that obviously has integrity and it's well, right? And vice versa. You want someone to have good values. Well, thank you very much for helping us with that. Good leaders ask great questions, right? So what are some questions that you may have asked or someone has asked of you and you went, wow, that's a really great question?
Yeah, I am, again, as a person who is always seeking solutions, and more specifically, synergy. I'm always asking, who can I partner with, right? Who can I partner with? Who's doing something like this? Or who's doing something close to this? And how do we build synergy, right? Synergy says that 1 + 1 = 3. I like that. That's the kind of work that I want to do, right? It is that gear system where you take a big gear tied to a little gear and you get more revolutions per minute out of this thing. Once you have this, it's the transmission. It's how did you take this and transmit it into something that's quicker and more powerful, more valuable. And so the question that I'm normally asked is where's the synergy? Where's the synergy in what I'm doing? Where's the synergy in what someone else is doing? Who can you partner with? Who has the yin to your yang? Those are the things that I'm always looking for, and always asking that question is where's a new level of synergy? Where's a new level? Where's a new solution? Where's again that yin yang where you really get someone who maybe has the strength to your weakness, and you can even do greater works that either of you two could do separately, that could imagine. And so I'm always looking for those synergies. And so I think that's something that, especially in times like these, we have to look for. When we see markets and maybe markets are down and we see people are kind of backing out of all of these things, interactions and organizations and things along those lines. That's where we have to begin to look at collaborations. That's where we have to look at mergers. That's where we have to look at partnerships, and again, see how we can synergize some of our organizations and create real solutions to our challenges. And so you'll hear more about this in the years to come. But me and my partner are writing a book called the laws of solutions, right? The laws of solutions. And he's a chemistry and process tech guy, and I'm a business guy. And so one of the questions that we ask is what's going to be the solvent, and what's going to be what's going to be the solvent, and then what's going to be dissolved. And really understanding in a partnership or when you're merging ideas, when you're finding that synergy, who has the biggest idea that the other ideas can be dissolved in, and then are you willing to do that? Is everyone willing to change, create the solution that is needed? And so those are some of the questions that I find myself asking, whether it's in the consulting area, in the ministry, or of course in the nonprofit and governmental sector.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, to your point there, it reminds me of the law of significance which says one is too small a number to achieve greatness.
Absolutely.
There's a philosophy that I had a director that used to preach and talk about all the time was big team, little me, right? Big team, little me. Am I willing to give up my plans and goals for the good of the team?
Absolutely.
Right, and that's really what you're getting at here. So we have a segment, Braylen, that we call "Would You Rather." All right. So we're going to go through some would you rather questions. They're all very easy and fun. So the first one is: would you rather meet your great grandparents or your great grandchildren?
Oh, I'm gonna say that's tough. I'm gonna go with my great grandchildren, because yeah, I think I would rather be the one that's sharing than receiving. And
Okay.
with my great grandparents, I'd be receiving. So
Right.
I'd rather share it to the next generation.
Right. Would you rather have a life rewind button or a life pause button?
Oh, pause. Yeah, yeah. Life is good, man. And there's moments I'd rather just stop right there, right? Because if you rewind, you go back through it as fast as you did the first time, right? You press play, you just go for. I'd rather just settle in some moments. That would be fine with me.
Okay.
Just pick settle in.
All right. So, would you rather know all the world's languages or be able to speak with animals?
Ooh. Um, I'm gonna say speak with animals. I think men are very common in many different ways, and so I would be very intrigued in the idea of the perspective of an animal. That would be that I think a lot. I think a lot more can be learned talking to an animal of how they view humans than talking to humans about how we view each
Right.
other.
Yeah. Talking to that bear to say, "What are you thinking right before you decide to eat me?"
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Or like they say, are you really more scared of me than I am of you? Right? They always tell you, oh, animals are more scared. Yeah, I'd like to ask an animal that question. Right?
Exactly. Would you rather be an adult your whole life or be a kid your whole life?
Oh no, man. I'd rather be an adult. I think I enjoy. I've enjoyed the challenge of adulthood. And I absolutely could not imagine going your whole life and not having children. That is just that's the joy of life right there,
You
man.
know
That's
what?
it.
I enjoyed my childhood so much. I mean, I grew up in Lake Charles and I enjoyed elementary school, middle school, high school. I could go through that again. It just was great. I know a lot of people say they had challenges and issues, and I absolutely loved every bit of it.
I had a great childhood. I really did. My parents, mom, dad just were excellent. We moved a lot. I've got to travel a lot. It was great, but I always say that today is the best day yet because I
Yeah.
plan to make tomorrow a better one, right? So I wouldn't go back. I like adulthood. This is working for me.
Okay. All right. Couple more. Would you rather have free gas for 25 years or have your dream car?
Oh, free gas, free gas, free gas. I, dri- I, drive, I drive a Jeep Wrangler. I mean, it's terrible on gas. So. And I've got big old wheels on it, big tires on it. It's terrible on gas. So just give me the gas, and I can still,
Mhm.
I'd like I'd like a Bentley Continental GT with the top that drops and everything. But I can take the tops out of my Jeep. I'm fine. I'm good.
You think you're driving a Bentley.
Yeah, I know yeah. Yeah, the wind still blows. So it's all good.
Okay. Would you rather fulfill your biggest wish or resolve your biggest regret?
Whoa, man, that's biggest regret or best wish. Hmm. I'm a forward guy, so I'm going with the greatest wish. I'm a
Okay.
forward. Yeah, let's
Okay.
go.
All right. Yeah, I am too. Last one. Would you rather have, get this, $1 million in Amazon gift cards or $100,000 in real money?
$1 million in Amazon gift cards or $1,000 of real money.
Or $100,000 in real money?
Oh, $100,000 in real money. Oh, I'm gonna say this just for the fun of it because my wife is probably watching, so I'll take $1 million in Amazon gift cards. So she was, oh man, I'd be the dude. I'd be the dude.
You're
My
gonna have
wife would always
a little smile if these boxes will be stacking up.
say, "Oh my goodness, man, happy wife, happy life, man. Give me the $1 million in Amazon cards."
Well, thank you for playing that segment of Would You Rather. Um, so, actually, Verone asked a really good question. So, you ran for office recently.
Yeah.
He said, "What did you learn from running for Congress?"
I'm here in the 3rd Congressional District in Louisiana. We were able to run. We ran against Mr. Clay Higgins, came in 2nd place with 60,000 votes. It was an extraordinary time. You know, the biggest challenge here in Southwest Louisiana, the greater Southwest Louisiana, a little bit broader than what we traditionally call Southwest Louisiana, it's a 10 parish district. You know, to put it in short, you learn it is what it is. Okay. It is what it is. It's probably the best way that I can say that. You know, you can work hard. You can do the things that need to be done, tackle some of the issues. But the time on last year was so divisive, man, that common ground was really, really difficult to find. You were even timid in how you engaged individuals because it was just such a volatile time and volatile season. And the opponent that I was working to unseat was definitely one of those volatile guys, right? One of his famous quotes was, the NFAC group was coming to town, which my friend who posed the question is a part of, and he said, if they come to town and I just assume that they're violent, then I'll take I'll take 10 of them out and never put down my beer, whatever it was, and just a very vile and volatile kind of guy. And even though you come with, you kind of come with, peace, and you come trying to be articulate, and you come trying to be intelligent, and you really lay out a platform and ideas and concepts. You go to the debates and represent yourself well, and you still fall significantly short. And you realize that you're in Louisiana, you're in the deep South, and very frankly, the end of the sentence is, it is what it is, brother. It is what it is.
I definitely understand that. So you say you're a forward-thinking guy. So what makes you smile when you get up in the morning?
I have 4 unbelievable children, and that is it, man. That is the joy of life. I've got 2 girls, 2 boys. The girls are on the outside, the boys are on the inside. 10, 7, 6, and 3. And so that is it for me, man. I go to bed with them climbing across my head and fussing at them, running them off the bed. And, I wake up and we're about in the same place. They're jumping in the bed, jumping on my head. And it's that's life. My dad instilled in us very, very early in life, that the only investment you can make in time that will follow you into eternity is your children. The greatest investment you can make in time that can actually follow you to eternity is your children. And he treated us that way. And I do my best to treat our children that way. And so that's the joy of life, is that that when you are instilling in them and you're investing in them, that is not just a lifetime investment. That's an eternal investment. And so that's the joy of life. And then, of course, everything else we do falls out from that in many ways. And so in many ways, a lot of the work that we do is somewhat selfish, right? We're trying to make the world a better place for our children, right? I'm trying to make the world a better place for my children. And if that's a blessing to other people's children, wonderful, right? Someone once asked me, they said, you're mentoring young African-American males in North Lake Charles, and you're not a native of North Lake Charles. You live over in our way. Your church is now in Central Lake Charles. Well, what gives? Why are you interested in it? I said, I cannot control who my daughters are going to fall in love with, right? Who knows who they're going to fall in love with? They can fall in love with anyone. And so I believe if I'm mentoring every young man that I can, that I pray someone's out there mentoring the young man my daughters are going to fall in love with. And I feel my chances are better if I'm doing my part, that someone's going to take care of the young man that my daughters are going to marry. So it's there is a little selfishness in there, right?
Absolutely.
But that's what makes me smile, man. My children and the hope and the joy that they bring to my life. Absolutely.
All right. Well, that is awesome. One of my good friends and counterpart in this leadership development space had a great comment. I really like him to put up on the screen here. He said, "Investing in your children is an eternal investment," right? And absolutely love that. Thanks, Jeff, for that comment. What's next on your plan for empowering your local community?
Yeah, so just last week, I was able to again accept the position as the coalition coordinator for Southwest Louisiana Response, which is again a sister program of Houston Response, which was a catalyst for cooperation and communication between churches and faith-based organizations to respond to Hurricane Harvey there, and of course here we'll be responding to the recent hurricanes here in Southwest Louisiana. Um, Doing everything from clearing trees out of people's yards and off of people's homes, to then replacing their roofs, to gutting out their homes, and then going back with sheetrock as well. And then, of course, all the other fallout needs that are associated with that. We've been very involved with hurricane relief. We were involved with hurricane relief during Katrina, during Rita, and many other Harvey that hit here. The terrorists here in Southwest Louisiana was hit hard. We were involved in that. So we're really excited to be kind of a part of that leadership team again to help the recovery of Lake Charles and Greater Southwest Louisiana. Really, really passionate about helping people. And so we're excited about that challenge. We're going to have an extraordinary challenge on our hands the next 4 to 5 years to try to get Southwest Louisiana back up and strong and better. I believe we can do it. I think we can do it together. I'm excited to see churches in collaboration with one another and communication with one another on how we can best do that, and have some synergy behind our efforts. And so that's my next leadership post. Again, recently accepted that position. Really excited about that. We're taking the Impact Agency and we're working on a very unique merger that I'm really excited about that I cannot announce yet. But we're really, really excited about the potential of that mentoring program that we were able to start and bring. And we're getting ready, hopefully, to do something very synergistic with that as well. And so we're excited. And of course, I'm rebuilding our home because it was destroyed during the hurricane, renovating and rebuilding our church because it was devastated during the hurricane as well. So lots on the plate, lots to get done. And of course, because of all the challenges that we find, Solutionists of Southwest Louisiana, which is a partnership consulting firm that we have, is very, very busy in this season, helping governments around Southwest Louisiana and small businesses around Southwest Louisiana find synergistic solutions to its most pressing problems. So we're extremely, extremely busy in this season, but it's all really, really work within our area of passion.
Well, that is awesome. With all the stuff that you're doing, helping, trying to help the Lake Charles and surrounding Southwest Louisiana community. So keep up the great work. So, growth it has to be intentional, right? You can't just wake up and say, well, I thought I grew yesterday. No, you got to be intentional about growing. Otherwise, you'll find yourself thinking in 2021 like you did in 1983.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's definitely never a good thing. So what do you do for personal and professional growth?
I spend a lot of time with people who are smarter than me. I search those people out. I try to spend as much time as possible with individuals like that, and of course, reading and watching videos and continuing to learn. Watching, Cedrick LaFleur and the Leadership Institute every time I get a chance also helps. Great guest all the time. I'm humbled to be a part of that. But yeah, and so I'll segue into this. I have thinking synergistically and strategically is kind of my central area that I like to be a part of. And so I read a lot as it pertains to warfare, right? About generals and how they conduct war and how they've transitioned in technology through war and how they've had to create new war strategies because of 21st century wars, the way wars are fought now and things along those lines. And so I read a lot of military strategy strategy. One of my favorite books, of course, is Sun Tzu, The Art of War, right? It's timeless. And people say, a pastor reading The Art of War. I love it. I love it. I love the principles. My dad taught us real early about a thing called transfer of knowledge, that if you understand something in one setting, you can transfer it. If you understand it well enough, you can transfer it and make it applicable in another area. And so one of the areas that I find most intriguing, and I seem to be able to transfer most easily into organizational leadership and strategic leadership and synergistic solutions, is studying military operations. And so I do a lot of that. One of kind of my recent books, recently, a couple years ago, General McChrystal wrote Team of Teams. And then there was a companion book called One Mission. So I've read those, read them again, because Team of Teams, man, is just, it's the book. It's the book. It's an incredible book of how they had to absolutely renovate, just completely recreate how they think of war strategies in the 21st century when they were fighting terrorism, because you're not fighting an organized, a very tightly organized army. You're fighting just these cells that are everywhere. And they had to really recreate, the military was very lethargic, very slow in its response, and they, of course, were very quick and very loose. And so the military had to find a way to adjust to that. And Team of Teams really lays that out. And then of One Mission, of course, I mentioned earlier how vital I believe a vision and mission that is transcendent and timeless is. And he really lays it out strategically and almost meticulously of how to develop those things and move that ball forward.
Sure. So let me ask you this, because we're talking a lot around leadership principles, and it's really a follow-up type question. This is a different level. So why do you think that whether you're in a church, you're in a business, you're in a nonprofit, you're in the school system, why do you think leadership is so important?
Leadership is important because, here's the reality. And a good friend of mine recently passed away, man. He would say it this way. People don't know where they need to go. They know where they want to go, right? But they don't know where they need to go. And that's the leader's job, right? The leader's job is to articulate the vision of where people need to go in such a way that they want to go where they did not want to go before, right? Or at least that they're willing to go where they did not want to go before. Okay, and so that's the reality. Vision is there's a supernatural element to vision, and I believe God gives that to in whom He chooses. And the leadership is it's the integrity of a vision. Because if you have a vision and hopefully with that vision has come the leadership abilities and qualities to usher an organization or usher people into that place that you have the vision for them to go. So it really gives validity. Leadership gives validity to vision. Without leadership, man, vision is, it's just words. It's just words. It's just a dream. But leadership really gives life and validity to vision. And of course, we know the value of vision is priceless in organizations of any magnitude, because no one really wants to stay where they are. No one likes to change, but everyone is in love with the idea of change.
Well, they want to change. They just don't want you to change them.
That's right. They want to change. They won't change. They just don't want to have to. Yeah, they don't want to have to do it. And so that's what vision is all about. It's giving people that hope, that picture of what change looks like, and then leadership comes along as a sign of them, and it's almost their coach. It's almost their coach through the process.
Yeah.
Of being able to achieve
that statement you just made. Leadership, I put it up on the screen and I put it in the comments so people can get that quote, because it's just awesome. Leadership gives validity to vision. Absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. So what advice would you give to emerging leaders who are trying to find either leadership opportunities, or they're trying to find their way? That they know that they need to be a leader, but they haven't quite figured it out yet.
Yeah. Well, the hardest person in the world to lead is yourself. Read that quote earlier today and just kind of reminded me of how true that is. And so if no one else will give you an opportunity to lead, give yourself an opportunity to lead. Lead yourself. Create some goals. Have a vision for yourself. Create that vision board, and then
I think we might have lost. Oh no, he's still there.
yeah, if you're blessed to have a spouse or whomever it may be, family, so you lead your family well. And when you do those things, you lead yourself well, you lead your family well. People will begin to notice, and opportunities to lead will begin to arise. And then when those opportunities arise, take them. So small, take them.
Wait. Stop right there. Stop right there, because you just said something, and this hurts in our community a lot. I want to make sure, let's backtrack there, because you said something that's important, right? I don't want people to miss this, right? And then I'll let you finish your thought. But you said work to get better so that and opportunities will arise. However, when opportunity arise, then you have to be willing to take them.
You have to. And listen, your first leadership opportunity outside of yourself and outside of your home is going to be small, but master it. If it's small and insignificant, kill it. Just blow it out. I mean, listen, if someone wants to pitch you a softball or put it on a tee, slam it out the park, right? Don't say, oh, that's T-ball. That position's too small for me. If you get an opportunity, kill it. Absolutely shred it.
Y'all heard what the man said. When you get an opportunity, even if it's to lead two people, take the opportunity and then master it, because you don't know what's on the other side. See, look, folks, you don't know what God has planned for you. And he says, if you can't manage little things, I'm never going to give you the opportunity to lead big things.
That's right. Great leaders are built, right? Now, listen, I agree. Leaders can be born, but great leaders are built, right? Great leaders are built. There's no one is born a great leader. You got to build that.
Right.
And the way you build it is, again, lead yourself. You control that, right? You can put out the you can put out the notice for leadership of yourself, interview yourself, and hire yourself as your new leader, right? You can do that whole process yourself, right? You can do that tonight if you wanted to. Okay, then hopefully you have a spouse, a husband, wife, or someone, or some children. You usually can talk them into letting you lead something, all right? Whatever the case may be, okay? And lead well, okay? Then, so you've got 2 leadership experiences under your belt. And listen, many people think that's small talk, but there are some leaders of great companies that don't lead themselves well.
Right.
And so leading yourself well is an asset. Knowing how to do that is a great asset. Leading your family well is a great asset. And then again, start small. Again, my leadership started, my first leadership position was in the 6th grade in DeQuincy Middle School. I was the band president. And listen, man, shredded it. My band teacher to the day will tell you he killed it. All right. He thought he was the president of the United States. Okay. He acted as if he was. Okay. Then 6th, 7th, 8th grade, we started, running for class president. It was me and one other girl, and we went back and forth for class president probably every year from then on out. Okay. And either I was president or vice president every year. But I took those small opportunities, came through high school, joined the Beta Club, okay? Ran for Beta State Secretary, won that. Man, so you take them as they come. And if they're small and you feel they're insignificant, shred them, kill them. Absolutely kill it. And don't bring your leadership skill down. Don't bring your leadership skill level down to the leadership moment. Bring the leadership moment up to your leadership ability. And so lead small things great. And people will then be able to look and say, man, if he done that with that, can you imagine what this person can do with this? And that's when people will begin to seek you out. Remember, Shakespeare had it right. The whole world is a stage. You got to perform. You got to perform. I don't care how small the role is. You may not be Romeo. You may not be Juliet. But whatever role you have, kill it because there's someone in the audience. Yes, the director of this play is watching those lead characters, but the director of the next play is watching the supporting characters, looking for their next lead role.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. So folks, hopefully you picked on this part right here. If you didn't, go back and rewind this and look at this later on tonight, because it's going to be on here, folks. I totally appreciate this. Hour is just like gone by like really fast, right? But I do have a question from Jalen here that says, if you had to go back in time, what would you change differently in your leadership?
I would. There's been some moments in my leadership where I moved quickly, and was not sensitive enough to the principle, as you would know, that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, if you want to go far, slow down and go together, right? And so there's been moments where I went fast and went alone. That if I could go back, I probably would say, let's go far and let's go together. But I want to caveat that because someone will slow down too much. Okay, someone will slow down too much on that caveat. I want to caveat that with the idea that there's a principle that I did learn through that process, and that principle is that there's a big difference between leaving someone and them deciding to stay. You have to understand the difference of the principle. The principle of someone being left is when you left at the time and in the way that you articulated that you would leave, and they simply chose not to get on board. You did not rush. You did not move too fast. You did it at the same. You laid out a plan. You laid out a purpose. And you walked it out and you completed it. And at some point, they just didn't believe you were going to do it. And you did it and you finished it. And they were shocked and surprised. And maybe they didn't get on board. They were left. There's another point of where I'm sorry. Well, left is I left before. I do apologize. Let me clear that up. I left before I said I was going to leave. So you left. I left you. You were like, oh, wait, I didn't know that was going to happen. So I left. But staying is all that I just said before. I'm sorry. Staying is you did exactly what you said you were going to do in the strategy. You did exactly what you said you were going to do in the plan. And somehow I still got left. No, you didn't get left. You decided to stay. That's right. Two different things. And so always be cognizant. As a leader, I want to move slow enough to not leave anyone.
Yeah.
But I do not want to hang around for someone that has decided to stay.
Right.
Yeah. And so in that principle, yes, there are moments that I would have moved a little slower because I did feel like I left some people that wanted to come, but I moved a little quicker than maybe the organization was ready. But again, the caveat is there's been moments that I went on and left because I realized some people had just decided to stay. And so striking that balance, finding that balance in there is something probably I wish I would have struck a little bit sooner. But it's through that trial of having not understood that I came to that reality that there are people who are left because you move too fast. And then very honestly, there are people who are going to stay no matter how slow you move. And Absolutely. So understanding that process has been a blessing to my life.
Well, awesome. One last question. We got like a minute and a half left. One last question. If there was a book that was written about you, what would the title be? And what would the summary in the back of the book say about you?
Well, I hope at the end of my life, it's called The Solutionist, right? I hope the book is called The Solutionist. And, on the back, I would hope that someone would find the kind words to say that he created synergy. He was the catalyst for synergistic solutions. That he found synergy in places where people only could see separation and could see silos. And he broke down silos and created synergy and done things with people from places in situations that no one thought imaginable because they did it together and they moved with a force that was greater than the sum of its parts. And so I hope to just be that catalyst for synergistic solutions. And so that's what I hope someone will say when it's all over, is that we were able to find some of those tough areas of synergy. Again, the synergy between church and state is what I'm most intrigued about, not the separation. And there's many other places where there's clear separations that I believe that we can create synergies and solutions to be able to really move our nation, our regions, our cities, our communities forward at the rapid pace that they need to in order for us to achieve the dreams and desires that we all have for our communities.
Wow. Well, that is awesome. Well, thank you. You guys have been listening to Pastor Braylen Harris from Lake Charles, Louisiana, Mount Olive Baptist Church. So thank you for coming on the show. Hopefully, folks, you picked up some leadership tips, some tips about being forward thinking, about being a visionary leader. And I love what he said at the very beginning. Their vision is by all means, and their mission is go teach love.
Absolutely.
That is just awesome. So wait, tomorrow night, 5:30 p.m. Central Time, Talk Leadership with Cedrick will be on. We will have Mr. Mark Smith on, and we'll be talking about a whole different topic. Mark has a vineyard, and he's going to be I call it sip and learn. You're going to learn about how he makes wine, how they decide to pick their grapes, how they do all of that production. So get something and come and sip and listen tomorrow night at 6:30 tomorrow. I mean, that's at 5:30 Central. At 6:30 Central Time, we'll be on with the Black Entrepreneurs Institute, and we have a live show tomorrow night. So come and enjoy that show on our Empowered Living Network tomorrow night at 6:30 Central Time, and then come right back here at 7:30 Central Time with and listen to Talk with TK and her Mindset 180 Academy. Tune in Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time for Talk Leadership and a Cup of Joe on the radio, 2 p.m. Central Time over the IBGR network. And remember, folks, as I always tell you before I leave, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, and don't be on the menu.